So the pathophysiology of COPD, what exactly goes wrong in the lungs that causes the changes that lead to COPD? So we've got changes in lung compartments. So you've got your central airways, so you've got your bronchi, you've got your bronchioles, your peripheral airways, and then your smaller and smaller branches off of that. Then you have what's called your lung parenchyma. That is the actual lung tissue, so the alveoli where the gas exchange takes place, the endothelium, the capillaries, and those spaces within the alveoli themselves and the capillaries, and also the blood supply, the pulmonary vasculature. There's a lot of inflammatory response, so you're going to see things like your cytokines and other types of inflammatory cells. Imbalance of proteinases and antiproteinases, so again we're going to have a lot of destruction of tissue, hypersecretion of mucus, lots of mucus production as a result of some of those proteases. The cilia will be damaged and have abnormal function. And ultimately what this leads to is some sort of abnormal gas exchange. We're trying to get the oxygen in, we're trying to get rid of the CO2. So what happens with people who have COPD? As we mentioned, shortness of breath at rest or with mild exertion. So this is not the intense exercise type where we're going to get short of breath. It's where their shortness of breath doesn't match the level of exertion that we're doing. We've talked a little bit about these. Orthopnea. Orthopnea, that is that difficulty lying flat. So people who have pulmonary disease are not going to be able to sleep flat. They're going to be need to sleep propped up. Paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. So that's what it sounds like. You know, difficulty breathing at night. So they're going to have shortness of breath at night. And as we mentioned, that unusual shortness of breath with typical daily activities. They're just really going to be huffing and puffing, heavy breathing, maybe some grunting noises as they're trying to exhale the air from their lungs. And as we had already mentioned about smoker's cough or chronic bronchitis. So if you know people who have smoker's cough, they are on their way to getting COPD. And what I like about this graphic here is this is from an old slide I've had, from Health 300, but I really like how it describes the damage to the alveoli from tobacco smoke. So you can see here in the upper portion of the corner, so these are your nice healthy lungs in the non-smoker. You see that the cilia are well organized. You see the mucus is not very big, and you don't see a whole lot of mucus glands, and you don't see a lot of inflammatory cells. But then when you start to look at someone who's a smoker, you can see how the tobacco smoke actually destroys the cilia. They're going to make a lot more mucus, and that you're going to have this increase in the number of mucus glands within the cell. Then what happens with, particularly with emphysema, we know the alveoli is the area where the gas exchange takes place. And what happens is we get what's called coalesced alveoli. So the alveoli, they start to lose the surface area for exchange. So that when, being all these little chambers where gas exchange takes place, they just get bigger and bigger. So the person loses that surface for gas exchange. And, and ultimately what that does is the person will be unable to have sufficient gas exchange. And that's why they're going to go on oxygen and why they're going to get shortness of breath. So it is very serious, as it tends to get worse if it's going to progress any further.